Welcome back to the Q Developer. So today I'm going to try to load historical data. So the first thing I'll need to do is I need to go ahead and initialize it within my thread. So last time we set up the actual call, but now inside our main window class, I'm going to assign it. So let's say Mirko, and I'll say, init historical data. And that's our call in Mirko. And notice we need to pass an unsigned integer, the symbol, a time frame, and the number of days. Now the unsigned integer is just the UID. So for every call we have, so if I have one window that's specific for the SPY, well then that'll have an ID. Let's say that's a 2-minute time. I have another window that's a 5-minute time frame of NASDAQ 100, the QQQ. Well, that would be another one. So right here, here's our request price. Here's the QQQ for our request. Pretty much going to do the same thing, except it requires 2 more parameters. So I'll also grab the QQQ. Next parameter I'm going to need is made a mistake. 1005, forgot the ID first. There. Now, the second one is going to be the symbol. The third one is going to be the actual time frame that I'm requesting. So let's make it 2 mins. And then the next one will be the actual number of days that I want to load. Now, the more days I load, the longer it's going to take. So here's the historical data. Now, if I go inside of here, I'm going to see that I come into my thread, the Mirko thread, and then I'm going to make another call, which in this call goes directly to my core, and we set this up prior, but just to refresh. So here's the initialization. I'm going to create a raw time and time t, my time info, character string. This is just standard basically for creating the time that's going to be submitted. Go through this process, format it. Then I'm going to create my contract. And in my contract, I'm going to pass the symbol that comes in. It'll be a stock. Now this security type can be pretty much anything. However, I'm sticking with a stock. Currency will be USD. And the exchange for easy, just to be easy, can be smart. Now this can be passed on multiple exchanges. But for now, we'll just say smart, meaning you make the choice. Then we go ahead and pass this information, along with this, which is very important, the value string list. And then when the request is made, it sends it to the eClient. Then the eClient does all this stuff. And at that point, that's when the callback methods will be invoked. And they'll be invoked here. So once that's ready, this historical data will be called. And then I'll get the request ID so I can filter it based on the request IDs. So the request IDs, remember that UID, which is associated with the specific window that I made the request with for my historical data. In this case, it's going to be a window because that's what I'll use. But it could be anything. It could be, say that you're using this for a little, a search or a scanner. Same thing. Now the bar will receive all the necessary data. Now let's come on in here and look at what the bar actually is. So it's going to give me that time back in a string. It's going to give me the high, the low, the open, the close, this thing called WAP, volume and count. So we're like, okay, well, what is this craziness? And this is where we go check out the documentation. So let's go look at the documentation. Okay, so looking at this bar class, now we can actually take a look and see what those mean. So the time, and we can use different types. So you can express it as the year, month, or second, and format it in many ways. Then you have the open, the high, low, close. Those are all doubles. The volume, which is a decimal. That's a new type. But down here, there's WAP. So what is this WAP? Well, it's the weighted average price. But notice where it says only available for trades. So that's the actual type. And then you have the count of number of bars. And that pretty much defines it. Now finding these things is a little challenging, so always refer back to this documentation. It's important. So now let's take a look back at the code. So here I am back at the code. So the historical data is initialized. The initialization in the thread is called. And then my initialization, the initialization of the historical data is called within my core. Now, I want to test it. Let's see if this callback actually gets executed. And when it does, it'll give me the ticker ID, that UID, and the bar. So put a breakpoint right here, and let me go ahead and run it. Now, in theory, this should get hit. We'll go ahead and connect to the data, and there it is. Terrific. It got hit. Now, let me take a look. Let's go ahead and hide our window and only concentrate on the code. So if I look at this bar right here and expand it, it gives me the closing price, the bar count, the high, the low, the open. It gives me this time, which is in Eastern time, and it gives me the VWAP, that crazy, or not the VWAP, the WAP, sorry. Just the WAP, the weighted average price. I don't really do much with that, but the information is there. Now, let's take a look at this UID. It's right here. 1005. And that's what we passed. And remember, this is an ID that's associated we can use to retrieve that data. We could use it as something like a filter. So now that all worked. So now what will happen next is if I go to the next sequence, it gets called again. Remember, it's calling the number of bars within 2-day period. So if I expand this, we should begin to see those numbers changing, which is exactly what we're seeing. And notice, like that bar count, get some crazy numbers, but notice how it keeps changing. And more importantly, let's focus on the time here. You see that time change with that? Remember, we requested 2-minute bars. We're at 9:54. So then we go 9:56, 9:58. Terrific, 10 o'clock. So I now know this is actually working in sequence and it's operational. Now when this is all finished, what I should see next, put a breakpoint on the historical data end, and what I should see is that being called, which it is. So when it's all finished, historical data end is called. And what we can do is we can use this to pass signals. So when a signal is emitted, once we've stored all of our historical data, we can retrieve it. So what I'd like to do now is every time that historical data gets called, I'm going to take all the information that's here. I'm going to stop this. All the information that comes from the historical data and its bars will be stored based on the ID. It'll all stored in a container. And then when the historical data end is called, I'll retrieve the container with all the data. Alright, so back with the core, what I need to do now is I need to create that storage container. So if we take a look, I'm going to take this historical data and I'm going to populate the storage container. So we already had one that was defined, our candlestick series. Go look at that. See, it's right here, the Q vector of candlesticks. And so what I'd like to do here is I want to be able to populate it. So each candlestick that I have will be populated with each one of the pieces of information within this bar. I'm not going to take everything, but I'll take some things. Now, before actually I even populate it, what I'd like to do is I now would like to create the time. So I'll use an std string, and I'll make a time, and I'll have that equal to the bar time. Whoops. Time dot cstring. There we go. Next thing I'll do is I'm going to create a candlestick, and I'll call it temp candlestick. I then begin to populate the candlestick. So, whoops. So I'll take the open, and I'll set that equal to the bar dot open. And then I'll go ahead and just copy the first part. I'll then take the close, And I'll set that equal to the bar.close. I then take high, set that to the bar.high. I'll take the low and set that to the bar.low. And the next thing I want to do is I want to actually just kind of contract that the string. So the timestamp, I don't want to take all the stuff at the end. I just want to take the bits and pieces that I actually need. So I'll set the timestamp equal to the str time, and I'll just take a substring, and I'll take from 0 to 17. I'll also take the volume, and I'm going to set the ID. So I have an ID that's baked into that candlestick as well, and I'll set that to the requested ID. Forgot the equal sign. Now, my candlestick, I'll just append the temp candlestick. And there we go. So when the historical data comes, I could take a look and see what my candlestick series is. So let's see. Let's give this a try. Give it a quick build. Go ahead, connect. And here's my temp candlestick. Let's add it. And look at that, 390 items. Beautiful. Here's my first candle. Contains all the information. And notice it, not scrolling as I would like. These haven't filled in yet. We'll come back and possibly fill those in. But I have the closing price. It's going crazy today. I have the ID, the closing price. The daily open I'll populate as well. At some point, I'll put these in just for future use. I also have the high. What's going on here? The high, the low. I'll populate a moving average in there too. I have the open and the timestamp. And notice on the timestamp, this right here, cuts it off at exactly the area that I would like it to cut it off. And I have the volume. So that's how I'm going to populate the historical data. Now stay tuned, because the next time we'll emit the signals and make the connections for when the historical data end is called, and then we can go ahead and retrieve this information. Thank you for watching. Please leave some comments. Let me know how it's coming along. And happy coding.